Hey everybody, welcome to Web3 Unpacked. I'm Matt Sky, and this is our co-host Rich Pasqua.
Hello, everyone.
And
welcome.
Today we have a very interesting guest. We have Joe Tran from Mana Games, and basically, well, you know what, Joe, why don't you tell us about Mana Games? Tell us what you do. You'll do it better than me.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Hi, everybody. So my name is Joe. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Mana Games. Essentially, Mana Games is a Web3 or a multi-chain Web3 gaming infrastructure platform. So in regards to infrastructure, we act as both a gaming distribution hub, right? Kind of similar to Steam for Web3 titles, and also esports competition platform. The reason why we're focusing on esports and gaming distribution is right now there's a huge hole in the market, if you will, right? Gap in the market where there is some of these services are much needed in regards to onboarding new Web2 gamers into the Web3 space, but also providing value, right, for Web3 studios alike for their distribution, right, and exposure to a broader audience, if you will. So yeah, that's Mana Games in a very quick blurb. I'm excited to be here and be part of this podcast.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for joining us. And Rich, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much, Joe. It's a pleasure to have you. And, one of the things you brought up in the intro it's kind of interesting. And Matt and I have been talking with a bunch of guests in the Web3 space. And it is like the conversion between 2.0 to 3.0, right? And for guys like us, it's like, no, just go full tilt, right? Just keep going. Right. But you do need to get people onboarded, right? You have to kind of go through some old doors to go through some new doors, correct?
Correct. It's always funny, right? Because I do these pitches all the time to various founders, right, in the Web3 space, and also, founders, or even just, founders, and also, I would like to say curious people, right, in the Web2 space looking to jump into the Web3 industry. Instead of, I guess a lot of these Web3 gaming founders, when I talk to them about distribution of their titles, right, and they're always kind of ask me like, okay, so we get why there's a need for distribution, but we're getting enough, followers or, traction on our own just fine, right? And I said, oh, that's, great and dandy, right? But again, if you look at, right now when I was talking to them, it was the bull market, right? And when I talk to people in the bull market and I talk about games in the bull market, everyone wants to play and trade assets and et cetera. But when the bear market comes around, a lot of these gamers are, nowhere to be found, right? Nowhere to be seen. So, that's another growing issue within the Web3 gaming space, right? That we just need some stability in regards to gamers or, adoption, I guess you can say, right? From Web 2 to Web 3. I'm not saying, the mass, we need a huge mass adoption wave at one point, but there needs to be some sort of ongoing stability or, and just a general increase, right, in regards to the adoption rate. And I believe that esports is a great conduit for that, right? And just distribution as well, right, to make it as easy easy discoverability and accessible for Web 2 gamers to easily find these amazing gaming titles. Right, so that's kind of why we're positioning ourselves the way we are. Right, at first, I started creating the distribution hub back in 2020, I believe. It was all pretty fluid. It's an ideation phase with my co-founder John and my CTO as well. But when I had that in mind, I started kind of creating that partnership network, right, and talking to various Web3 gaming founders to see if they're interested and being part of our ecosystem. And, from at one point, we got to upwards of 14 to 15 different gaming titles already signed with us, right, for distribution. Oh. But then, as the bear market hit, and a lot of these games that we were talking to, they kind of got shaken up, obviously, just because, how the market is, and there's a lot of uncertainty, right, in regards to that, and plus their player base isn't as what, or the community isn't as what they were used to, I guess you could say. So I guess that's another thing about just really putting your head down, really grinding out development and keeping true to your message, right, in your game, in your project. So, what we're trying to do here is kind of establish that foothold, I guess, in this industry, and saying, hey, if you want to find great games, come to Mana Games, right? And if you want to slowly, learn about Web3, and just compete with one another, we have that avenue for you as well, right? That option for you as well. So, yeah, it's, a real roundabout way of, of just saying it, but yeah, that's kind of how we wanted to, be part of the market, right? Or position ourselves in the market.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. And, we find, because we do it all the time, right? We'd love for every project to be Web3, but the reality of it for us being a, design and service and development company, you got to go, you can't kick out the SaaS clients. You can't just do that. Plus, what we're finding is every single day, and the idea of this whole podcast of Web3 Impact is education across. So you're not only selling, you're educating as well.
Correct. Yeah, no, I think there needs to be definitely a form of education, right, or a level of education when you onboard Web2 gamers. I was in Korea not too long ago for Korea Blockchain Week, and I was, everyone's always networking, right? When you go to these conferences, and like, what do you do? What do you do? So when you tell the same story over and over again, right? A lot of you get around the same reactions or answers, right, about your project, and a lot of the times I hear, hey, you're kind of like Web 2.5, right? And I was like, I guess that's a great way to put it. We want to be that onboarding platform, right, or the first hub, if you will, for Web2 gamers to find out about Web3 products, and instead of throwing them on the in the deep end of the pool of the Web3 pool, hey, you have to create a MetaMask, you need to learn your seed phrase and do transactions, yada yada. And then when you want to play a game, a lot of these games require you to own their assets, right? Either NFT or a token. And, again, it's up to the players to find out, navigate through those waters of, okay, so how do I acquire those assets? And I got to go exchange these marketplaces. So we want to kind of just, cut through all of that, right? Start very small, right? Hey, you love playing Fortnite, you love playing PUBG, that's great, right? Go on Mana Games. You can create these peer-to-peer challenges, right, or competitions on our platform. Compete in these Web2 games, and then essentially earn Web3 rewards, right, by competing against one another. And that way, we start very small, right? The lowest hanging fruit is that they create an account with us. We generate a wallet for them, right? And then within our platform, we have ways for them to easily access and purchase our tokens, right, for these competitions, right, to be able to compete against one another. And the idea is that, once these guys are on our platform and competing, right, in either Fortnite or PUBG or Call of Duty Warzone, if they're accruing tokens and actually benefiting from, Web3, right, getting rewarded and such, and they're hopefully they're jazzed about it, they're hyped about it, and they want to learn more, they're curious. Well, we have that distribution channel on the other side of the coin, right, where for them to tap into, which is the other games that we have partnered with. So that's kind of the slingshot effect, right? Or, the honey trap, I guess you can say, what people are saying. But yeah, that's
some kind of
like,
trap that's sticky.
Yeah.
That's kind of how we want.
Mousetrap.
Right, the mousetrap. I love that. But anyway, that's kind of how we wanted to do it, right? Just kind of slowly ease people into it and let them play their favorite games and just earn and get rewarded in Web3, right?
Which games are getting the most? Which games are getting the most traction right now? Just curious.
In regards to Web3 or Web2?
In terms of the Web2 games, when you're getting people who are new to your platform, because you're kind of in a closed beta right now, right?
Yeah, yep. We're in a closed beta right now. So right now, Fortnite and Call of Duty, of course, right? They're doing well. So right now, we have a list of Web2 games that we support. So we have Fortnite, Call of Duty, we have Mobile Legends, and we have Apex Legends and Rocket League, I believe. Those are the 5 games right now. I know Mobile Legends is actually very popular within the Southeast Asian region, just because, emerging regions, right? Areas of emerging markets. Reason being is that not everyone they have the resources to purchase consoles or PCs. Mobile Legends is, of course, on the phone, and everyone has a smartphone, right? In emerging markets, so that's why some of these games are, they have huge amounts of viewerships and also competitors, right? Gamers, right? So yeah, so I guess regarding to answer your question, yeah, Fortnite and Call of Duty for within our closed beta, but Mobile Legends is going to be something that we'll be focusing on in the near future, right?
Yeah, those mobile games are just so popular now. I mean, they have been for a while, actually, but it is that great on-road because you can do it on your commute. You can kind of get involved, and they're so detailed, too. Like, as far as these microeconomies and, governments or whatever you're setting up within these games, they're just very, very interesting for sure.
Yeah. No, actually, some of these games are just, I mean, they have the same, I guess, gameplay as regular console games as well, right? PC games as well. Mobile Legends is like a battle royale, or not battle. I'm sorry, it's a mobile game, kind of like League of Legends, right? If you guys played League of Legends, but it's on the phone. And as everyone knows, smartphones are now just like amazing, right? They're able to play and render movies like on demand. And I don't know if you saw I saw a TikTok recently of the new iPhone 14 Max, right? And they had their cinematic mode, and they were comparing that to a 30 grand camera, DSLR camera, and it was just I mean, obviously the 30 grand is better, but it's good enough. The phone quality in itself, the cinematic mode, it's wow, right? You could film a whole movie from this, and I don't think people would really would tell the difference.
Well, I saw them doing that in the commercials. They have the phone coming in on the crane. And
yeah.
As if it's like this tiny little phone on this whole cinematic setup with lighting and everything.
Are they doing anamorphic camera lenses? Is that it? Or where it gives you that true cinematic widescreen look? Because that would be amazing. I just haven't read up on it enough to know. But the cameras are, all these flagship phones, they're using very similar, Snapdragon processors and stuff like that. But the cameras tend to be that differentiator for people, right?
Yeah.
What has LiDAR or HDR or something like that. Now people are starting to use the LiDAR technology for, more engineering type of purposes and less for artistic purposes. But, the cameras are crazy. The phones are getting nuttier. And that brings me back to Solana. I can't wait. Get my, hardware accelerated Web3, it'll be your Trezor too, right? Or, it'll be your hardware wallet as well. It could be, I guess. But
I'm actually very curious about that. I didn't do much reading on the Solana phone, right? Just because, just thinking about jumping into the phone market, the phone biz right now is just bro, they know how are you going to compete against the iPhone or the Android, right? But again, hopefully I want to see this underdog story with Solana, dark horse coming into the game.
Yeah, you brought up a good point because we said the same exact thing. Are you losing your mind? I think when Nothing came out with their phones, which was designed in partnership with Teenage Engineering, who I'm a bit of a synth nerd, so it's wow, what a cool combination. They're really good product designers. But on the flip side, I was that is the most tumultuous business to be in right now. The hardware and software. Forget about the software. The hardware end of it is just crazy. So I wish them luck because I agree with you. It's a little bit of that underdog story that everyone loves, mixed with new technology. I hope it does well.
Yeah, I mean, any win within the Web3 space is a win, right? So
absolutely,
one step closer to adoption or more awareness of what we're trying to do. So I'm happy.
Yeah.
Hopefully we could do it. It reminds me of Siren Labs. I don't know if you guys remember that when they created their own phone, their own Web3 phone as well. It was
no, I don't remember that.
Oh yeah, it was way back 2018 or something.
Oh wow,
but,
ancient in crypto
2017.
Yeah, in crypto time, that's dog years or whatever.
Pre-Doge years, because some made a fortune.
Pre-Doge, yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. I was honestly when I got into Web3 crypto in 2016, right, and that felt like a lifetime ago. It's not even that long ago, but it feels like a lifetime ago, and I just learned so much. So I guess every day it's something new, and it's just continuously growing.
What got you into it? Exactly.
That's why we're in it, right? That's why we're in it, because we're curious. If you're not curious and you don't have a stomach for unpacking things and kind of trying things, it may not be for you, but especially on the development side. But it is truly experience. It's a wonderful experience because once you understand, the possibilities are endless. And we've been talking about a ton of this stuff in the past, like just how things are going to kind of open up and change. And literally, Matt, our last podcast was about mass adoption, right? So there is an underdog story, but it's also, we want the Apples and the Samsungs to be, going for it as well. Apple most recently opening up their developer community to Web3, NFTs. Super interesting. And that's what's going to help get adoption. Starbucks, all these big brands are starting to, dip their toes in, whether it be, cashing in on the sizzle right now from a marketing standpoint, or if they're really, time will tell to see if they're really invested in building out their communities and their platforms. So we'll see.
Yeah. I was going to say, literally time will tell, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So, but, regards to a lot of Web 2 big brands getting into Web 3, it's just all inevitable in my eyes, right? Some way, shape, or form, they'll integrate, something Web 3 into their ongoing marketing plans, or just, what they're doing in regards to the business. There's a lot of gaming studios in the Web 2 world and publishing, or Web 2 gaming studios or publishers jumping in, like Square Enix, right? I know Epic Games, right, from creators of Fortnite. Now they're starting to allow some Web 3 games into their app store or their store, right?
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's a whole slew of other games and studios coming in, right? So I'm excited. It's just inevitable, like I'm saying. But again, this is a great time to really start building out whatever projects that you guys are building out, right? I'm talking to the audience, talking to the crowd listening.
Yeah.
But don't listen, don't listen to the bears out there, even though it's a bear market, keep building, right? Who knows what will happen by the time the bull market comes around.
This is like the building period. You're right. And I think that's what 100%. You would say during crypto winter is when the development takes place. And what you're saying is absolutely true. Like, and especially in your space, like you look at Sega, right? Sega is now beginning with their first blockchain game. So the biggest players in the world, everyone is entering. And now is kind of a great time for people to enter. Not financial advice, but it seems like it's a great time for a lot of people.
Well, not financial advice, of course, but investing, it actually is a good time to jump in. And I'm not saying buy the dip, of course, but if you want to play, you can. But it is, it is the time to start building. And I think there's tremendous amount of opportunities out there. You just have to look for them, or just dream. And get involved. And one of our clients was squarely rooted in the whole Terra debacle.
Oh, yeah.
They were on the Cosmos, in the Cosmos, on the Terra network, tethered to lots of different things. And about 50% of those protocols went down. More than 50%.
Wow.
I think at this point.
Yeah.
They were unscathed. Well, they rattled like everybody else, but they survived because they were multi-chain. And the founders and friends and investors and everyone around that whole ecosystem, because tons of people were involved, they lost tons of money individually, like millions individually, whatever it was. But it's so interesting from a developer's perspective or a product innovator's perspective on that. They're like, yep, we lost money. We're still charging forward. And I love that energy. I love that. And it's a whole part of Web3. We talk to recruiters in it, and it's a special breed of developer or product person where you're going to get beaten up. I don't care who you are.
Yeah.
You're going to take some punches. You have to learn how to deal with it. Don't get emotional and just keep moving forward because it's not going away.
Yeah. I mean, the Terra punch though was like a Mike Tyson hook, right?
That wasn't even a punch. That was like a nuclear explosion.
Yeah.
And my heart goes out to everyone involved. Everyone.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, actually, no, it brings me back to my own project around March. That happened around March, right? So, we were actually fundraising for our seed around that time. We've got a lot, and we had a lot of attention from investors, and some of these investors, right? Well, when that all happened, right? The bear market happened and the whole Terra thing happened, and a lot of these guys were like, well, we just lost like a crap load of money, and there's so many fires on our backyard. We need to take the time to put this in the back burner so we could focus on that, right? So I was like, look, I'm not going to blame you. I was like, go do you. Like, we'll still be here. And, when I was talking to John at the time and some of our internal team, we're like, okay, well, raising our seed is probably not the best time right now. Okay. So I was like, okay, well, we need to, pivot a little bit. Let's go raise a smaller round for, an angel through angels. And that's what we accomplished. Right. So, we navigated that waters, right? We took those punches, right? We just got to continue forward. And that's, hopefully a lot of other, projects out there kind of did the same thing. Right. Yeah. And, now, we, not like what Matt mentioned before, is that we are doing our closed beta, right? So, that if we weren't able to raise that angel round, the closed beta actually wouldn't have been developed, or we wouldn't have been to this point, right? So, I'm thankful for the early investors that believed in us even throughout that whole crazy time, that situation that everyone felt, right? So, yeah.
What a great story, Joe. It's awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
I guess maybe tell us how you got into Web3, because everyone has their own kind of story. You obviously have been in crypto maybe early enough to make some big gains, or before a lot of people knew this was a big thing. What's your history in that? And what's your history of gaming, too? That's kind of interesting as well.
Yeah. I'll talk about crypto first. So I got into it in 2016. And just like everyone else, I was a speculator. Actually, a family member, my uncle, told me, he was like, yeah, look into Bitcoin and Ethereum. And at the time I was like a 20-something-year-old, right? 20-something-year-old. And I'm like, what the hell is Bitcoin and Ethereum? Right? I'm supposed to be the one finding the tech, not the other way around.
That's hilarious.
Right?
Yeah, that's cool.
That's refreshing, actually.
Right. No, he's always the entrepreneur type. But when I was looking into Bitcoin and Ethereum at the time, and I was speculating. I was looking at the charts going up and down, right, like a roller coaster. If you think it's volatile now, it was super volatile back then, right? I quickly, as the more I looked into it and the more I dove in deeper into just like the use cases, right, and like what it really represents, or what it can represent in the future, right? I quickly made a decision that I wanted to play my part and provide value, right, to throughout the industry, right, some way, shape, or form. I didn't know how, but I wanted to do it. And my personal background is that I'm typically do business development, right? I do partnerships, a lot of like networking and such. So I wanted to provide my skill sets to various companies, that wanted assistance from me. So I started helping out with marketing at Verge Currency. And then I did a lot of consulting / advisory work for various Web3 startups as well throughout the U.S. I did some time helping out with Token Pay as well. Those are like the two like bigger tokens that people might know. Those tokens are, they're probably not around anymore, right? I haven't checked, but yeah. But if you're back in the day, you probably know that those tokens. Yeah. But when I was doing, the consultancy / advisory work till 2019, it led me to Asia. So I was jumping around from the Philippines, Manila, to Tokyo, to South Korea. And I was doing this exact same thing, right? So I was building out my community, building out my Rolodex of networks, right? Or contacts, if you will. And lo and behold, when Mr. Pandemic came around, right? A lot of my meetings.
I've never heard it be called Mr. Virtual. Pandemic, by the way. Continue.
It's just funny. I noticed my meetings went from physical to virtual, and then I was racking up the hours on my PC, right? And it's a good segue just because, I'm a gamer at heart, man. And I played games throughout all my childhood. So, the additional hours racking up on the PC due to the uncertainty outside was, through the gaming or streaming or whatnot, right? And I I started a little project as well in between 2018, 2019, or 2017, 2018, which, it's actually, it was a e-retail store or e-store on crypto mining rigs, right? Just because, a lot of people at the time were, looking to mine, Bitcoin or Ethereum and such, and I couldn't find any stores out there or online stores that showed like the different rigs, right? So I was like, oh, why don't I just kind of make an aggregator of rigs, contact all the other the retailers out there to allow me to sell on my website. But I didn't really have any heart into it, right? Because I'm not really a miner, right? I just knew that there was a need for it. Mm-hmm. So that lasted, for like a year, and then I continue on, and then when the pandemic happened, I met up with my co-founder and CTO John Bardis. John is a technologist for over 20 plus years. He got into blockchain around the same time I did. And a cool fun fact is that he's an owner of an esports organization out in Vegas called Core Gaming, QOR Gaming. And he has a professional team that plays Valorant, right, which is a fairly popular FPS game that everyone plays. But when I was talking to John, I was like, we were like, okay, well, we both love Web3 blockchain, right? And we also love gaming, right? Me in a consumer standpoint, him in an operator standpoint, and esports, right? Which ties into gaming. So we're like, okay, well, we need to create something, that kind of merges those two together, right? It's kind of how Mana Games came about. And, we were like, okay, well, there's so many different Web3 gaming titles, but there isn't like a Steam, right? A Web3 Steam. We're like, okay, let's create a Web3 Steam. And that's kind of how Mana Games came about, right? And as you know, I started growing out the partnership networks there. We have 10 plus guilds, 15 games right now. And we're going to be adding a good bunch more just because of my trip to Singapore. A lot of gaming projects out there, guilds still going on, right? And they're amazing too. But then, we want to add in esports, right, as that conduit, right, to bring in Web2 gamers. So, without telling everyone back what that is again, that's kind of how Mana Games came about.
What was your reception like at Token 2049? Just curious. What was that like? That's a pretty big event.
Oh yeah, no, it was huge. It was kind of funny though because I wasn't supposed to be going to Singapore. It was like super last minute. A lot of it actually stems back to when I was in Korea. So I was making my my contact lists from Korea for investors because we're raising our seed, and also new gaming partners, right? Great gaming founders and also guild founders as well. And they're all like, yeah, are you going to Token 2049 in Singapore? And I was like, I wasn't planning on it, right? And that was in August, and Token 2049 was probably like 3 weeks away, right, from that event. So it was like any type of travel plans, like you need to do it now. So my advisors were like, no, you got to go, right? Because we're going as well. Like you got to go. We got to investor relations, etc. So I was like, okay. So I didn't know this at the time, but during Token 2049, there were like 3 separate conferences, right, going on throughout the same week, and also the F1, right, the Formula One track.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was
convergence there,
yeah. There was like, and then I was looking at hotels, and I was like, there were 0 hotels for me to choose from, right? So like every day, I had to find a plane ticket, I got to find a hotel ticket that weren't like costing me an arm and a leg, but evidently I found it. Made my way to Token 2049, and the atmosphere there was just different. It was night and day compared to, let's say, any sort of conference in the States, right, or in the Western world. Here, sometimes people, talk about the bear market, the doom and gloom, right? But people are still building. People are still, trudging along. But in Asia, wow, it was just like people were still very hyped about Web3 gaming. They were like, yeah, check out my game. And there's like a huge demo line, a line of people trying to demo out this new game called The Harvest, right? and they might be one of our new partners as well. It's a new battle royale game. And then a lot of investors are still deploying capital in Asia, right? Just got a call yesterday. One of my contacts was like, actually got a new investor friend looking to invest in new Web3 gaming titles, and I was like, okay, well that's something new in the States because everyone is kind of holding off on deploying any kind of capital, right? But people over there, they're still looking to find new NFT projects or new Web3 gaming projects to put money down, put money in. So yeah, I mean, and there were, I think, 7,000 people there at the conference, right? But a lot of there were other attendees in the side events as well that didn't purchase tickets for the main conference. So I would like to say there was like another like 2,000, 3,000 people just kind of walking around Singapore attending the side events.
Wow.
And there were like 150 plus side events throughout the week, right, for all Web3. So, if you have friends there, they're all probably, inviting you to go check out their side events, or they're like, so I got, at one point, like per night, I had like 4 or 5 events I had to jump to. Again, I'm jet lagged, right? I was still in the U.S. time, so I get tired pretty quickly there. So I was like, damn, I have to go to like 4 different side events, and I'll probably like be an hour at each one. I was like, this is gonna be so tiring, and then gotta start over the next day, right? But all in all, I think it's amazing there. And I think it's really worth it to check out if you're a builder in the space, operator in the space. Definitely start connecting again, start networking again. My advice to other operators and builders out there, right, to some of these conferences.
It's also funny the way you described the conference. One, it seems very sizable, which is just amazing, and very engaging with the right energy. And then I look at the NFT Miami thing. It's like, oh my God, thank God I did not go to that. Because I don't want it's an Avatar Fest, and it's like a Comic-Con meets Web3, and it's like, well, that's cool, but not the whole thing. You know what I mean? It's got to be down to business too. So
yeah, no, I think that's a lot of it was just business, right? I don't think there were a lot of people interested or curious about it. Everyone was working on a project or representing a project, and VC firms as well, right? They have their tags. Yeah. So, people are there they have a mission, right? They have a goal in mind. So that's kind of the refreshing vibe that I got there. So definitely will be there next year as well.
Yeah. We might have to be there.
You said there was more enthusiasm out there and less of the doom and gloom mindset. Why do you think that is? That's an interesting contrast.
Yeah, actually, I wasn't too sure as well. Because in Korea, when that was the first time I went back to Asia after like the whole COVID thing, right? I felt that same vibe there as well, right? And I was just at NFT NYC, right? And NFT NYC was cool and it was fun, but I think it was a bit more productive when I was in Asia for some reason. Might be the whole thing, Rich, that you were talking about, how people were just kind of showcasing their JPEGs or their avatar, and they're kind of more like. They're not. I wouldn't say they're not serious, but they're not really like building anything, right? They're kind of just going
where's
there
the utility?
Yeah. So maybe that might be the difference there, but pretty much, I guess it might just be like a cultural thing, maybe as well. I don't know, right? I can't really say for sure, but it was just definitely different, right?
Man, I could imagine a Web3 conference in Korea. I'm sure it's super. Like over the top, dynamic, really cool. It's like literally technology is literally ingrained in their culture. It's like in that whole section of the world. I'd love to go there once. Yeah,
tech is always much more advanced there, isn't it? We're always like a little behind in the States.
Well, I mean,
I mean, I think there's pros and cons to it, right? In Japan still uses fax machines. Right, offices. So even though that they're like everyone thinks that some of these countries are like light years ahead, but there are some small things that they're not, right?
Right.
So,
like a classic fax once in a while. Yeah,
I just like to hear the sound once in a while.
Yeah,
like a 96 baud modem booting up.
Yeah, like maybe I'll Sometimes I turn up the dial-up sound on my Spotify, and I just
there you go.
Throw me back to the 90s.
Yeah.
Maybe there's more gaming emphasis when you're out in Singapore.
For sure.
Would that be the key differentiator, perhaps, that because there's a utility behind Web3, that's why there's this enthusiasm, there's development. Mm-hmm. Whereas when we compare it to NFT NYC, it was really just showing off which NFTs, which art you have.
Yeah, no, that could be it too. That's a good point, because there were a good amount of gaming projects out there, right? But also a lot of security projects were kind of. I keep seeing a lot of name tags for security firms, some sort of Web3 smart contract auditing, or wallets, etc. Right? So they also played a part, but it was less of the NFT projects that showcasing their avatars and such. That's definitely for sure, because I don't think I saw much of that at all.
So Joe, maybe walk us through a little bit more of the Mana platform. I think that would be illuminating to our audience. So you have Mana Swap, there's the gaming portal, there's the cross-chain NFT marketplace, and then you have these P2P challenges and tournaments. So this is a pretty robust platform you're building here. Maybe break it down for us, and we can kind of go piece by piece and unpack all that.
Yeah, for sure. So I'll start with the main features that we want to be able to showcase, right? We can start with the peer-to-peer challenges, right? And also the gaming portal. Essentially, the gaming portal and the peer-to-peer challenges is what I described earlier, right? In regards to the Mana Games pitch, if you will. What we want to do is allow users to easily compete against one another, right, in Web2 gaming competition, but also earning Web3 rewards, right, which is the peer-to-peer challenges. Essentially, we cater to only amateur gamers for these, but we're looking to expand into the pro scene, right? That's pretty exciting, but that's still very early on. But in regards to the amateur side, anyone can really organize these peer-to-peer events or peer-to-peer challenges, if you will, right, on the Mana Games platform. So essentially, guys, if it's the three of us and then I want 10 people total, so we need to invite 7 other gamers out there, right? I can be the organizer, right? I'm not Joe, the founder or co-founder of Mana Games. I'm Joe, just a gamer, right? And we want to play Fortnite. What I can do is I'll organize the event on the Mana Games platform, right? Everyone would then have, let's say, a token, or our tokens, and also wallets, right, to be able to compete. But from there, what a user would do is that they would have to own a wallet, own a token, and also connect their gamer tag, right, from their Web2 game that they want to play. So Fortnite, you need to create an Epic Games account, right? You would connect your Epic Games account to the Mana Games platform. And after you have all three of those components, you're ready to compete against one another, right? You just have to look for either an event that suits your schedule and the game that you want to play, or you can organize yourself, right? And as an organizer, sorry, I kind of just derailed from me being the organizer, but essentially, I could set the parameters, right, of the peer-to-peer challenge, right? So I could set how many people are playing, what game we're playing, when we're playing, and also the challenge price, right? So the challenge price is essentially the entrance fee, right? The entry fee to be able to play. I could set the price as low as 50 Mana Games tokens, right, or as high as 5,000 Mana Games tokens, right? But whatever the pricing may be, right? If everyone wants to compete, they would need to use the Mana Games tokens, right, as a entry fee, right, to pay in, and then from there you would pull up the entry fee into the prize pool, and whoever would win that said esporting event would then win the majority of the prize, and then Mana Games, right, as a hosting site would then get a small percentage. But no, that's nothing that people would actually blink about. So. Yeah.
How do you actually set limits for kind of noobs or people just kind of getting involved? You can't bet 5,000, but you can, enter in at a 50 to 100 token range. Do you limit people, or can they just go, rocket ship up to whatever they want?
Yeah, no, they could definitely rocket shit up if they want. But what we do is that we have matchmaking capability or mechanisms in place, right? That kind of aligns with okay, well, since you're putting your gamer tag, right? So we'll get to see who's playing, right, via the gamer tags, right, and the APIs in place. And usually some of these games have rankings, right, within the Web2 game. So what we do is we compare ranks, right, between the gamers, right, and there's only a small window, like not window, but I guess like a small gap between skills, right, that will allow to be played. And if people are saying, well, what if I just create a brand new account? Well, if we see that the account was made like a day ago, then we're definitely not going to let you play, right? There has to be a set time of, okay, well, you have to play over 50 games of Fortnite, within this account to be able to, or 50 ranked game of Fortnite for you to be eligible, right? We have those capabilities as well that we're trying to implement. Kind of helps with the fair play type of, environment. So we don't want, guys that are pros stomping on noobs for just like easy tokens, right?
Right.
Easy wins.
Prevent the hustle, if you will, right?
Exactly. So we want to make this as fair as possible, right? And also as entertaining as possible. So I know, as humans, like, there are parts of us that are riskier than others, right? And, the riskier people can play it or can do what they want, right? But we just want to make sure that whenever that's being played, there is some sort of level of like equal skill, right?
Yeah.
Against the competitors. Well, that's essentially the peer-to-peer challenge side, right? So we support Web2 games, right? Of course, for these peer-to-peer challenges, right? To start off, to be able to gain the interest of Web2 gamers, but eventually, we want to bring in Web3 games for these competitions, right? Just for the fact that, hey, we're a Web3 platform, right? We're a Web 2.5, whatever you want to call us, right? We want to be able to showcase Web3 gaming titles, and we want to be able to provide value to them. So distribution is definitely one, and also competition events, right, or esporting support, if you will, is the other. So that's the peer-to-peer side. That's the esports side. In regards to the gaming portal, that's just a fancy term or fancy name of just the distribution hub, right, that we're creating in regards to the Mana Games platform. And that's all fairly simple. We want to be similar to a Web3 Steam, right, in regards to how users would navigate us, right? So if you would imagine Steam, actually right now in the early phases of Mana Games, we're a browser-based platform, but we want to be able to create a downloadable application, right, at later stages at the end game, if you will. So if you could imagine navigating through Steam, right, where you have an account with us, you boot up the app, right, and then you have a whole host of various Web3 or just gaming titles for you to choose and discover. We want that to be as simple like that as well, right? So we'll have the multitudes of Web3 gaming titles for users to easily navigate, look at the reviews, if they want to play, they could play it. But instead of redirecting these gamers into the game's website, right, we want to be able to launch these games on our application, right? So act as a launcher, if you will.
Yeah, I would imagine it would be just give you a host of new opportunities and to streamline things, make things faster, actually, technically faster, and truly build your own, basically your own community from there too, as well.
Yeah, definitely. And we're not the only, players here in regards to, creating an aggregation platform, right? I actually met the founder of Elixir app, right? Or just Elixir, Carlos, right? And Elixir is essentially, what we want to build, right? The Web3 Steam, and they're a downloadable app. But, it was a funny thing when I met him in Token 2049, because when you're dealing with gaming, right, you're always in the same, like, Telegram group chats, right? And it's funny because he sees me, like, trying to promote Mana Games, and I see him promoting Elixir, right? And it's all good and dandy, but we finally had a chance to meet up in person. And then he was like, oh, so you're Joe, like, what, you're trying to create like a Steam platform too? I was like, yeah, but I told him, I was like, well, get this, right? Yeah, we kind of tread the same waters, right? But, in this day, not the day and age, but I don't want to sound like that, but right now in regards to the current market, right, and how premature we are as a Web3, market as Web3 or Web3 gaming, right? The pie is so huge that there could be multiple players out there, right? And there needs to be more tools, right, in regards to infrastructure for Web2 gamers to utilize, right? So no one wants to, of course it'd be great to be like, king of the hill, but it's being a king of a small hill or being a king, or being part of a much larger hill right? I'd rather be part of a much larger hill, if you will, right? So there needs to be more tools and infrastructure platforms for various for Web2 gamers to just use if they want to, right? And I feel like that's kind of like the Web3 ethos, if you will, right?
Yeah.
Collaboration, right? There needs to be more collaboration, and I keep seeing this stuff in like even in 2016 where people were treating various blockchain projects as like sports teams.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've seen that.
I won't use Ethereum. Yeah, I won't use Ethereum because yada yada is going to be a Ethereum killer or whatever. It's like, bro, like there's not enough users in Ethereum back in the day to even like we need more users in general, right? Like there can't be just one sole project to use. And I believe in a multi-chain world.
Yeah, absolutely. You can't box yourself in. I think we learned that, last year with everything that happened with Terra. You can't be single chain. You got to leave yourself open. And there is so much room. The universe is being built now. Like it's just forming, right? Big Bang happened. It's forming. And then there are little planets that are going to form, with their own little cultures and rules and things and DAOs and whatever you're going to put into them. But there's so much room, especially I think in the esports world, because it's definitely not losing steam, and it's just going to progress and grow. The market cap is just going to go, it's a hockey stick. It's not going in.
Yeah.
And then gaming, as it relates to pure play gaming, kind of like your world, but gaming to me is not just Steam engines or PUBG or anything else like that. Gaming has permeated everything, education, health. It's a much bigger industry than what people actually choose to believe it is. They think it's just, geeky kids hanging out in their basements and
it's everyone.
gaming out.
Yeah. It's
not anymore.
Yeah.
It's business people. It's, doctors are doing it because you can gamify an experience for a kid going through treatment or whatever it is. And then the education system. Frankly, I don't think there's enough of it in the education system.
Yeah, I agree.
It's a very powerful tool.
Yeah, definitely. And I love how you kind of said that all, right? So that's amazing.
Yeah.
Actually, I have the same sentiments. Again, right? Gaming is everywhere, right? That's why I believe that's it's a great conduit, right? An overall scheme to bring in new users into the space. But yeah, it's kind of the how we are positioning ourselves in regards to our main focuses, right, which is distribution and also esports. In regard to the secondary features, which is like the NFT cross-chain NFT marketplace, and also our swapping mechanism, our swapping system. Those features actually are just added values, right, or to our distribution channel, right? And a lot of it is just being the ease of accessibility, right? And that's my favorite word or term. But reasons being is that, the idea is that if you're put in the shoes of a consumer using the Mana Games platform, right, or any aggregation platform, and then you're like, okay, I want to play this game. Now they're still left with, where the hell do I find the assets? What chain or not chain? Yeah. What NFT marketplace or what exchange do I go to find these assets and then play them, right? So we just want to make it all easy as possible, all in-house, right, within our ecosystem. So, I'll start with the swapping mechanism. So we're actually taking a play from the Axie Infinity Sky Mavis Ronin playbook, right, where we're essentially creating our own internal decentralized exchange, right, which acts as a swapping mechanism. So the idea is that users, once they accrue Mana Games tokens from the esports side, and then they want to play a new game, right, instead of scouring the internet and finding the tokens, like I mentioned before, right, they'll just go into our swapping mechanism and swap from the Mana Games token to any of the gaming tokens that they want to acquire, right, and utilize, right? And from there, it'll be very minimal transaction fees, gas fees, right, involved, because we're built on Polygon natively right now. So, we just wanted to make it as seamless as possible and easy as possible, right? And we don't want to, put people, especially new users, through the headache, right, of looking and scouring the web. And the same can be said about the NFT marketplace, right? Same, thought process there, right? We have the multitudes of various Web3 gaming titles working with us, and a lot of these games are not built on one ecosystem, right? So we're still a multi-chain supportive platform. So these games are on Solana, on Polygon. I'm talking to some guys from like BSC, right, Binance Smart Chain, also on Avalanche, and we're creating this cross-chain marketplace right now, utilizing some of these bridges that we know that we're working with, like Super Oracles. They're helping us out to utilize. So essentially, all these users that are looking to buy NFTs, right, or in-game, digital assets or slash NFTs that correlates to the game, they could just find it there on our platform or NFT marketplace, right? And they would use the Mana Games token, right, to essentially purchase them, right? But we're making it a bit easier now, where the Mana Games token will be kind of treated like the BNB token. If you use the Binance exchange, you get like a discounted on transaction rates and etc. Right? It'll be the same, kind of the same play, but we'll be utilizing either Matic or a larger and more accessible token, right, for the purchasing power. I get the purchase of these tokens. Yeah. So those are the main things, or some of the main and secondary features of Mana Games, and the NFT marketplace and a swapping mechanism, along with the true distribution channel, is going to be on the back end right now until like 2023. We're focusing on more on the esports and getting our community of Web2 gamers in first. But we still have the distribution channel ready to go in regards to our browser-based platform, where we just allow users to easily put it down in a review or play a game. But in order for all those other secondary features to really exist, we need to create the downloadable app, like I mentioned before, right? So that's kind of a quick little roadmap, if you will, of what we're trying to focus on.
Awesome. Yeah, and you know what? Some people, and you even said it. You were like, the swapping mechanism is just kind of like a tool, right? Mm-hmm. It's not the focus of everything. But in the spirit of removing friction in the experience, that a 2.0 or a newbie would, or new person entering the world might have, is that swapping mechanism actually is pretty important. And then multi-chain, the whole thing, multiple coins to swap over to yours, to Mana tokens. It's actually really kind of a big deal, because even like WaxP and like Wax, they make you go through weird websites, and then you have to burn it, and then you have to do all those other things. And it becomes like, yeah, this is a pretty interesting token, and there's a lot of gaming communities and whatnot, and NFT communities that are opening up with that. But it's a huge hassle. And I'd rather just swap right in the wallet. Let me just do it quick. Show me the conversions. Let me know what I'm getting for my my tokens and whatnot. But yeah, small, but actually a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, the ease of just to be as frictionless as possible, right? That's tough in regards to Web3 anything. Yeah. But we're trying to do our part, and if there are other solutions out there that comes about in the near future, we're definitely still open to integrating or working with new partners, right, to make this as seamless as possible, right? Yeah. So we don't want to recreate the wheel, so we're always happy to work with anyone that has solutions for us.
Absolutely.
How long does it usually take someone, say a Web2 gamer? I'm sure it varies based on person or maybe even by game, but how long does it take to onboard in terms of to get into your ecosystem? And say they're not familiar with crypto, they don't have a wallet, they can just use their credit card, right? So it's everything's happening behind the scenes, correct?
Yeah, so
Joe, can you tell us a bit about, as you've transported suddenly, but can you tell us a little bit about the process of onboarding someone from Web2 onto your platform?
Yeah. So essentially, we're working on a few different initiatives, right, to make this as easy as possible or seamless as possible, like you keep mentioning. So all a user would need to do is essentially create a Mana Games account on our platform, and from there we'll generate a wallet for them, right? A Mana Games wallet, easy to create, if you will, generate. And then in regards to acquiring our tokens, right? We're talking to several centralized exchanges for listing. But there's something more direct that we're working that's within the pipeline, right, which will allow users to easily just use credit card, right, and then they could purchase our tokens straight from the platform itself. But the thing about this feature is that it's only applicable to users in the Philippines for right now. So I guess some back history about Mana Games and our support system or our network in the Philippines is essentially we're part of a consortium, right, within the APAC region. And then the consortium is called Impero, the Impero Consortium. They're actually headquartered in the Philippines as well. And they first started out as a Web3 compliance company, right? So they do a lot of compliance, and they built a rapport with the Philippines government. Well, I guess the more interesting point about this is that, the Philippines government, due to COVID and the whole Axie Infinity Web3 gaming rise, right, was that, a lot of money was being moved across borders, right, from, and generated within the Philippines. The reason why Axie Infinity or Web3 gaming got to the point of, that we see today, right, was because, there are so many gamers in Southeast Asia, right, that were playing Axie Infinity on their mobile. But essentially, the Philippines adopted them. The Philippine citizens adopted that game pretty quickly, right, and rapidly, mind you. So the government's not dumb, right, or blind to see that, where the hell is all this money coming from, and what's this, crazy thing called Axie Infinity and Web3. And with that mindset, actually there's a new administration right now within the Philippines that is very they're embracing the whole Web3 notion, I guess you can say, or movement. So they're trying to strike while the iron's hot, if you will, right? So with that being said, they are working with the Impero Consortium in various different ways where they treat Impero kind of like a consultant, right? So if anything Web3 related, they kind of ask Noel, who's a founder and who's my lead advisor, about what's going on within Web3, right? And with the since they have such a rapport, working together, in 2019 actually, the government, with the assistance of Impero, created the first blockchain and crypto law within the special economic zone of Bataan, right? The special economic zone can be seen similarly to like the Caymans, right, or the British Isles, right, or Estonia. So they have, tax incentives for various Web3 companies coming in. So, to build upon, right, from foreign companies. But the great thing about this is that Mana Games is actually registered as well within the Bataan region as well. The great thing about this is that, people that are either investing in Mana Games or working with us, right, it gives them peace of mind just because there is a legislative/regulatory foundation, right, behind us, right, kind of like protecting, users coming in, right, working with us or investing in us, just because, if something were to go awry, and knock on wood, but nothing's gonna happen, but there's no rug pullers gonna be, willingly register their company in a place where there's a law, right, for blockchain crypto, and they provide more regulatory clarity, if you will. But long story short is that within this consortium, that we're part of, there is a company stemming from the Web2 remittance world called DA5. And DA5 has over 2,300 physical locations, so 2,300 physical locations all across Southeast Asia. And they are a premier, a master license of Western Union, right, or master agent of Western Union, right? So they do a lot of remittances, right, overseas transactions. So they did $500 million annually in transactions, and they're looking to get into the Web3 world for solutions, right? Hence why they're part of the consortium. And a great part about being this part of this consortium is that we share resources. We're all work together. We all have the same mindset of how to expand, right? Utilizing each other's, strengths and weaknesses. And we're looking to integrate their payment technology and their payment gateways, right, within our platform, which hence allows users to use credit card, right, to purchase our crypto, and then ultimately compete straight away, right? So,
Joe, this all sounds way too civilized for me. In comparison to the rest of the world, everything they hear Web3, blockchain, crypto, whatever, everyone panics and they just literally just hit you with a hammer with
Right,
legislation that they have no idea how it got written, by who, and there's no consultation, right? And that's kind of unfortunate. But it sounds like the Philippines you guys are actually doing something really smart.
Yeah, so
and it's called collaboration.
Yeah. I mean, and another, a reason why they're moving so fast is, I guess you could kind of use this analogy analogy, I guess, similar to like companies, right? Smaller companies or smaller countries are able to move a bit quicker, right, in regards to some of those, either politics or just moving in general, right, compared to bigger companies or countries. So, and they saw, I guess the Philippines government, they saw an opportunity to become that quote unquote Web3 haven, safe haven or hub, if you will, right? So
Smart.
they want to, position themselves in that manner, right, within that spot and within Southeast Asia. So, we're just, I'm just grateful, right, that we're part of the mix there. I'm not even Filipino. People people think I'm Filipino, but I'm Chinese and Vietnamese. I just do a lot of work in Asia and a lot of work into the Philippines, right? Yeah. So, it's always hilarious. But, actually in October, and I was mentioning this, I have another trip to the Philippines in the end of October. It's a private conference, right? Private event, only 300 invitees, right, to this event, but it's a Web3 conference, that's hosted by a government agency. I believe it's the DICT, the Digital Informations and Technology arm of the Philippines, and they're sponsoring / hosting this event. All right, so there's going to be a lot of regulators that will be part of the invitees and other Web3 companies within the Philippines or even outside of within the APAC region to be joining in. But I think they're just from now to by the time people will see this, this event will probably be over. But, they're just keep in mind that they're trying to work fast and becoming that safe haven, if you will. Right. So it's very exciting. Right. It's a lot of moving parts, but it's exciting.
Well, it's also speed to market. I mean, I think, product innovators in the U.S. completely understand that. Regulators want to understand. I truly believe they want to understand it, but they kind of don't.
Yeah.
But it is time to market, and it's smart. I see. Okay, that's smart pushing ahead, and you should always push ahead and test the boundaries of these new technology environments, whereas other countries are pushed into it through necessity, like Venezuela, for example, right? So they have nothing. They've literally have scorched earth. They have an opportunity to embrace something new, to actually rebuild that forest, that economy.
Yeah.
So I admire either countries that are really embracing it or embracing it because there's no other way to go.
Yeah.
And it is smart. So I definitely admire that for sure.
Joe, how did the Mana Games Philippines connection take place? Was that kind of an organic happening, or was it because of this favorable regulatory environment? Like, what's the history on that? Just curious.
Yeah, actually, it kind of goes back to when I was bouncing around Asia, right, for the consulting / advisory role that I was doing, what I mentioned before. I somehow landed in the Philippines or Manila, through some mutual contacts telling me to come by, and that's how I met Emmanuel, right? My lead advisor, also the founder of Impero. And, we kicked it off, He's he actually is a Canadian citizen, right? But he just, lives in the Philippines with his family, and he has some strong ties, right? He's established his position there and some strong ties and with people of power, right? That can really push, the needle along, right? In regards to Web3. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of, how it kind of, it's not an extravagant story. It's nothing amazing, but, it's just kind of like, I met a person through another contact, a mutual contact, and we just kind of kicked it off, and we're like, okay, well, we believe in each other's projects, and like, let's grab a drink and let's keep talking about it. And, I met him early on 2017, and, we've been friends since, right? He's like a brother of mine now, Web3 brother of mine.
It's incredible is how global Web3 is in that sense, too, that, you have everyone from different backgrounds, like you were talking about, different countries, then launching in the Philippines, then building this global platform. And so it's always so exciting to kind of see that, just that collaboration of ideas from everywhere.
Yeah, the Web3 ethos, right? So,
Yeah, absolutely. Cross borders, decentralized. There are no borders. That's the whole idea.
Yep.
That's the whole idea. So I mean, it'll be interesting to see how countries adopt their own theory of Web3 or what it means to them. But ultimately, it's becoming a one world economy in some strange ways. It's very interesting.
The internet economy, right? The one with the internet, the world of the internet, right?
Yeah, the interwebs.
The interweb. Yeah, no, I love it.
Well, I guess this is metaverse, right? I mean, that is effectively metaverse.
There you go. Yeah. There you go. Right. So, the metaverse is an interesting topic in itself, right? I don't know. It could be anything.
What's your plans? What's Mana Games' plans for the metaverse, if any? Who knows?
Well, I guess the more basic, plans for that is really just a lot of these metaverses have some gamification or game aspect to it, right? I've been throwing the idea around where, if we partner up with, enough metaverses like Sandbox and, other standalone metaverse projects out there, we can act as a metaverse portal, right? Distribution portal where users can easily jump from one metaverse to another without going to different, websites. And that's just like as far as I got in regards to tinkering with any metaverse integrations or, plans in the future. Right now the metaverse itself is, it's tough, right? Just a lot of moving parts. It's still very premature, right?
Yeah.
I guess you can say. You have Facebook doing their own thing, and you have Sandbox, and you have Decentraland. But when I think of the metaverse, I think of actually it's funny. I'm an anime watcher, right? So there's certain animes that have they have the storyline where the person in the real life somehow gets stuck in their own fantasy gaming world, metaverse world, right? Or kind of like Ready Player One, if you will.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
But I in that respect, maybe I've always had the thought. I was like, okay, well, if I want to be stuck in a metaverse, right, or I want to play a metaverse, it has to be appealing to me in a more game sense, right, like graphic sense, or there's a lot of different projects before in Web 2 where people were just hanging out. Some sort of MMORPGs, right?
Yeah,
that's a sort of Web 2 metaverse back in the day. They had their own ecosystem, economy, everything. You just weren't able to take any of those assets out of those in-game ecosystems, right? And metaverses, to me, they're just if it's a great metaverse, right, it'll be like that, but you're able to take it out. But in regards to tokenomics or just the way that the model works, I'm not sure how you would balance that out in regards to okay, well, this in-game item in this MMORPG metaverse costs this much Ethereum or whatever.
You almost need that conversion tool, whatever it is. But I think one thing you said to me, which resonates with me quite a bit, and we talk about it a lot, is the metaverse has been, to your point, has been around for a while. Roblox. Look at what is that? I mean, Minecraft to a certain degree doesn't have too much. Roblox has more of an economic engine behind it, but they're walled gardens. They're one planet, and then the idea of creating a portal you can jump to, that to me is the metaverse. It will be the metaverse when the connective tissue is created. Whether they're portals like yours, it's the connected tissue. And we just don't have that yet because you want to be able to wander and dream and then use your, new Nike kicks that you just bought or your Adidas outfit. Right. You want to be able to use it. And then, to your point, how does it convert monetarily? How does it convert graphically? Is it super pixelated, like, a bitmapped game, or is it super high resolution? There's all sorts of new issues that we had basically with the 1.0 of the web, how things convert and how they connect. But to me, it's not blocking someone off. We've been there already.
Yeah,
it's every game platform. Now it's wander and be able to share. It's cool.
No, I agree. And I know a lot of people were kind of tinkering at the idea of, I've spoken to a lot of Web3 MMORPG games, and slash metaverse projects, right? And they were saying like, okay, well, I want to be able to bring my gaming weapon or item, right, of the game into a different metaverse, make it interoperable. I was like, okay, well, are the stats going to be the same? Like, like,
well,
like,
yeah,
do they like work? Like, your game is more fantasy and the other one's sci-fi. Do they have swords in that game? Like, how are you going to make, like, it's tough.
Don't bring a knife to a gunfight.
Exactly.
Or a laser fight, even worse.
Right.
Or a laser fight, yeah, laser.
Or even vice versa, right? Where there's games that have like starships, right? And I was like, okay, well, can you have a starship in this fantasy game? Like, you're fighting orcs and whatnot. It's just.
But that's Middle Earth.
Advantage.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
Right. So
there's totally spot on.
Yeah, there's a lot of different things that need to be worked out, and a lot of kinks to be ironed out. But I love the whole connective tissue, right? Metaphor. That's awesome. I agree, right? There definitely needs to be more of that. But I think as well in regards to just basic game economy or just gameplay, right? Or just, things revolving around the metaverse and their utility. There just needs to be a bit more in my mind, right? And a lot of the games that I see, and I might just be biased or elitism or whatever you call it, right? But a lot of the graphics in the metaverses right now, they're just kind of like, they're Robloxy, Minecrafty, right? Very pixely. But of course, to each their own, because Roblox and Minecraft are just huge powerhouses in their own right. So, who am I to say, whatever, right? But that's just my own personal opinion in it. There's definitely different aspects of it that people love. So hopefully,
what did you?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Keep going.
No. I was just ranting, but go ahead.
I was just going to ask you, Joe, what did you think of Meta or Mark Zuckerberg's little avatar there with his
that's funny.
Horizons and there.
Yeah, no, I know people, don't like the Zucks, right? But this guy has such a huge foundation, like, just like, he has a community already, right? You know how many people use WhatsApp and Facebook daily? WhatsApp even more, right? Like the billions, right? And he's already starting the process of like, incorporating NFTs slowly within like Instagram or WhatsApp, right? And soon, maybe WhatsApp can be able to send crypto transactions left and right. Who knows? There are other messaging apps that have those capabilities right now. Maybe he'll kind of do that as well. But if you're able to connect all those together, those moving pieces together into his metaverse, right? No one else has that, right? That's his differentiating factor. He has the billions that he's connected to. And really, if you are a Sandbox or Decentraland or whatever metaverse competing against that'd be tough, right? Because that guy already has the all the moving pieces. You just got to slowly make the integration.
So yeah, we're on the same page with a lot of things too. I think look, Mark is doing what he's doing, and we want him to be successful because this is the proliferation of Web3 and gaming and everything else. So go for it. The one company that we surprise people when we talk about. That personally I think is poised to really hit home runs in this world over time is Microsoft. Okay, they own 22 gaming companies, maybe even more by now, right? And then it's about that connective tissue, and if they can do it, they've already got the Minecrafts of the world and the Mahjong and all that stuff. I think that could be a floodgate if they really, really think outside of the box and start to connect things a little bit differently and play with those new economies and those new little micro societies, if you will. I think they could do quite well.
I agree. And it's kind of like what was that term? I just totally messed up the saying in my head, but essentially, it's like it's the lesser of two evils, right? Like with the whole thing with like Zuckerberg and with Meta doing their own metaverse, if you will, right? It's like, do you want mass adoption or do you not want mass adoption, right? Because you have mass adoption, you go through Facebook, right? Like in a much larger scale, and also like Microsoft, like mass adoption through Microsoft, and how they own various Web3 or just gaming studios in general, integrating Web3. right? A lot of, I guess, the I guess early days like mindset of like Web3 or blockchain was like, power to the people, like, F the corporations and the banks, etc. But, if you really want to get to it, the whole mass adoption, everyone using it, there's, you just got to pick your poison, right?
You got to play nice, right?
I would also, I think Zuck doesn't get the credit. Not that this is like a, whole nonstop praise thing, but I think he is taking a big risk by putting the company in that direction, and at the same time,
he lost a lot of money, right?
He's taken hits. He's taken hits, but I think he understands the power of Web3 and is trying to steer in that direction. Granted, they have their own corporate, like any corporation, their own needs and their own financial ends, but the alternative would be imagine a Facebook that's trying to block Web3, that's actively trying to prevent innovation or creation in the space. So to me, the fact that they're moving ahead, that they're building the VR sets, that they're building the ecosystem of their own is opening the door for all the different ecosystems to coexist, I hope. And so I think...
Well, wasn't he implementing some sort of like transaction fee that was like 20% or 15% or some crazy number like that for NFTs? I don't know. I remember reading that.
I think this was Apple had this with NFTs with
that was Apple.
The App Store has the 30%. Right. Yeah,
that's
third-party developers 30%.
But you know who else does that? Steam does that, right? For traditional Web 2 studios, right? So, this is one of those things where like they have the market by the balls, right? I don't know if I could say that, but they can do it. Just because they can. They have the market, right? So that's why a lot of Web3 companies right now, they want to steer away from that, right, for their community. So, we're all doing our part, but again, it's, if you want mass adoption, you got to go through these guys. Or you want like a slow rise, and you put your money on a different horse, right?
Or you got to do it yourself, right? You know what? I kudos, and there's always an entrance fee, right? Always.
Correct.
Mana has, a fee. Microsoft does, all of these, Steam, everything. The one thing I don't want to see happen is they just try and control everything. And it goes against the entire ethos of Web3, meaning it's supposed to be open.
Correct.
Developer community, like create open source, not just development environments, but it's social environments and everything else, and gaming environments and everything that goes with it. As soon as you start to kind of put your hands around it too tightly, I think it's going to go. It'll actually blow up in some people's faces or some platform spaces. It has to not lose that whole idea of we are no longer the products. We are now gaining back the idea that we are truly the consumers. And we can contribute in advertising. We can contribute into monetary models within a gaming system. So as long as that doesn't get lost, I'm happy.
Yeah, no, I love it. Yeah, no, I'm the same way, right? There needs to be, as little control as possible, just, for the people, right? Because, essentially that's Web3, right? There needs to be some creative freedom or just, freedom of control, within the environment that we're in, right? Whatever game or project or whatever that we're utilizing Web3.
Well, I love what. Sorry, I just had to say this, Joe. It's kind of like what you're doing with Mana in talking about when you mentioned competing platforms. This space doesn't have to be a zero-sum game, and it seems like the companies that understand that are the ones that are winning over people's hearts and minds in this space and are thriving. So you're setting the model, in my view.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm trying. I'm trying my best in my, place in DC right now.
Good.
So yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely the way to go move forward, right? It's a multi-chain universe or multi-chain ecosystem that brings in projects despite where they're built on, right? What chain they're utilizing. Also, there needs to be some sort. There's got to be a level of collaboration, right? Or within the various Web3 projects out there, either be infrastructure or your gaming projects. You see a lot more in gaming projects now, but in regards to infrastructure, there needs to be more tools for users to be able to utilize, right? So there's not a zero-sum game, right? We don't have to be, number one for everything, but the pie is so big, everyone can eat, everyone could be happy. right? We just need to work together. So yeah.
It's exactly what we talk about all the time, Rich, right?
Yeah, absolutely. All the time. Every day, every week.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. To the audience out there, yeah, definitely subscribe or follow Web3 Unpacked on Spotify and the other socials.
I think you already finished our outro for us. Yeah.
Speaking the truth.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Well, you know what? That's the whole thing. We're not here to, create FUD or talk about coins going up and down and sideways. We're talking about the people, the innovators, and the technology behind it. That's really what we care about. And you know what? Subsequently, there is residual benefits to that. And if you know what you're doing and you know what you're looking for, you're going to see lots of smart people like yourself, Joe, with really interesting products that they may want to invest in. Simple as that. We're not telling them to do anything like that from financial standpoints, but you're getting exposure to really interesting people and products and teams, and changes in the world, really. And it's fascinating. And this is what does it for us. So thanks so much.
Yeah, no, thank you guys. And yeah, definitely, if any listeners out there, if you're building up any interesting Web3 gaming projects, either be a game or infra, reach out to me. I'm always happy to chat. I'm always on LinkedIn. It's kind of how Matt found me, I think. So
that works.
Awesome.
Working that LinkedIn. Joe, tell us before we jump off, where can people learn more about Mana? Of course, managames.io, but give us any other URLs, anything you want us to put out there for people.
Yeah, you guys could check out our Twitter. So our Twitter is, we're growing that out. We're one of our priorities right now. So I believe the handle is managames_GG, right? So managames_GG. For our Twitter, and from there you can find our link tree that has all the other links involved. If you want to reach out to me, I'm always on LinkedIn, right? So I'm at Joe Mana, I believe, right, on LinkedIn, and if you want my Telegram, it's Joe_Mana, right? So there's some sort of wordplay where people say it's like, oh, Joe Mana is like Joe Mama. I was like, yeah, I didn't think about that, but I guess so.
Hey,
Actually, I did not plan that, right? I was just trying to put my company name with my name on top, but it just happened to be like that. So
those are the best ones.
Embrace it.
Yeah, those inadvertent jokes. Well,
so I'll take it.
Joe, thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thanks, Rich, and thanks, Matt, for allowing me to chat and ramble on about games and everything about Web3 on your podcast.
That's why we're here, buddy. And thank you so much. We look forward to talking again very soon. So thank you.
Awesome. Thanks everybody.